Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We spoke earlier today to Warren Wren, CEO of Golden Minerals, a TSXV listed silver gold explorer with assets in Mexico, Argentina, and the US. Complicated story, but if you want our thoughts and opinions on that conversation and indeed the company itself, you can find that at cruxinvestor.com/club, where you can also find detailed company reports, commentary from market experts from around the world on a variety of companies and commodities. There are training videos on there. There are summaries of other interviews that we've done just to save you a little bit of time. And of course, there's a thriving community of investors sharing their thoughts and ideas with each other in a safe environment. So go there and sign up to cruxinvestor.com/club. And of course, we'd love your feedback too. So do give us a like, leave your comments below. And if you want to see what we talked about, take a look in the description below. Warren, how you doing, sir?
Hi, Matthew. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Not bad. Good to catch up with you. Actually, when did we speak? We spoke in September. It hasn't been too long.
It was August, I think, late August.
Late August. Is that right? Crikey. Yeah. It's all melding into one. Anyway, are you well? Are you keeping healthy?
Yep, very. Thank you. Yourself?
We are. I've gone and got myself one of those, Peloton bikes. So yeah, I'm making a vague attempt. And then I jumped straight off and dived into a bottle of wine. It's the right way to go. But anyway, look, we're going to catch up with you today because when we last spoke, things were starting to move, and we're kind of keen to hear about Rodeo and how that's progressing before the end of the year sets upon us. So, but before we do that, why don't you give us that 1 minute overview of the companies that people here who are new to the story can understand what you're up to?
Yeah, so we're completely focused on turning the company around from being an exploration only company to a production company. Now, we have in the past been in production, and we see our path forward to be a profitable producer starting next year, with the Rodeo mine foremost in our plans, but then followed closely by a restart at Velardeña. So the 1-2 punch of those two operations will bring us back into profitability and for a sustained period of time, at least 10, 12 years. So we're really excited about that. I think it makes it's a transformative change for the company. I think the investors are excited about it.
Yeah, okay. I don't think we'll go too much into the history leading up to now, or indeed all of the assets today. People can look at the links that we'll put below to kind of come up to speed, as it were. But today I do want to focus on Rodeo because it's the key which unlocks the cash, which unlocks the prize. And by that I mean it gets you into production at Velardeña. So how are things with regards to Rodeo? Where are you at? What are you doing?
No, we're right on schedule. We're making great progress on all fronts. Our main focus here has been, threefold. One, the environmental permits, which we have one of the two that we need. The second, we expect to have this month. It's been slowed somewhat by the Mexican government's response to the COVID crisis in Mexico, which has gotten worse as it has in many places in the world. But we still expect to have that permit in late in November. And that's the main impact statement approval and the approval from SEMARNAT to start operations. So that's on track. The other aspect that we've been working on is a bit of a change in the mill for a better processing of the harder ores from Rodeo compared to what the mill had been processing before. Fairly, it's a small change. It's adding a regrind mill, a ball mill after the current ball mill. So it's within the budget, and that's on schedule and going well. And then, the third aspect that we've been working on is just the mine plan and the details of the metallurgy. We have additional metallurgical tests that confirm what we had in the PEA. We do need a slightly finer grind size to get that, and that's accommodated by the new mill that we're installing. So things are going quite well. We still expect to start production in January and be cash positive in Q1 2021.
Okay, so you've got all the cash you need to kind of get yourself to the point where you can get into production, which wasn't a great sum of money from where you're talking about $1.5 million.
Yeah, it's $1.5 million cash right. out the door before we actually are cash positive. We have plenty. We ended Q3 with 8.7 million US in the bank. So we're fine. I think we're projecting about 7 million in the bank by the time we're producing in January.
Right, and the other things that we're talking about, just again to remind people perhaps haven't heard the story for a while, or people need to. You're talking about it. It's a very short life of mine. It's a 2.5 year life of mine, but you would be throwing up upwards of $25 million cash at. I think you used quite a low number there, but it's going to be more than that in today's environment.
Yeah. The PEA went out at 1660, I think, per ounce gold. And that's the number that you're talking about is based on those prices. So at current prices, it's quite a bit more. It's up over 30 million net after tax. And so, it's going to be very substantial for the company. We have, our market cap has gone up with our share price appreciation somewhat. So now we're a 70 million market cap company. I think last time we talked, we were still down in the mid 30s or so, maybe 40. But it still is very significant for the company. More than covers all our costs, gives us cash left over. It makes us a profitable company.
Right. Okay. And we'll talk about the use of proceeds in a second. But people need to understand and believe that Rodeo is a simple process. Nothing can go wrong. It's a short life of mine, but it's still mining. So, where are you with that? Is it a case of it's really simple mining? You don't foresee any issues?
It's as straightforward as you can get, really, because it's an open pit, low strip ratio, open pit mine. It sits on top of a ridge. It's just a beautiful deposit. It has a great gold grade, over 3 grams per ton, which gives you a value per ton of ore of extremely good value per ton of ore. Given the current gold price. And, we already have the processing facility. We're making a tweak to it, installing a regrind mill. But it's a short haul from Rodeo to the mill. It's about 100 kilometers. All those costs are very easily handled given the high value per ton of ore. And it's really hard to see what could go wrong. The biggest hurdle in my mind is the final environmental permit, which we're well on our way to getting. We've had good conversations with SEMARNAT, and pending their response to the virus outbreak there, we'll get that in the next few weeks.
I see good news on that one. Well, you'll have yours well ahead of that. We spoke with the. I'm trying to remember what was it. We spoke to the Mexican government. They're taking this online in Q1. So you'll be able to see where permits and licenses sit within the system online and not have to go and walk the corridors of power.
That would be very interesting. It'd be a great improvement. Because we've been limited to their ability to meet with us in person, and they've been reluctant to do so. So when the doors are shut and you don't have any other method to communicate with them, then it makes it more difficult.
Yes, Ministry of the Economy. Anyway, slight distraction, but I think good news for all Mexican mining companies. So, absolutely. As he said, it kind of reduces the chance of corruption and speeds the process up. So let's get back to what you're going to be doing with this money. So we knew that you would be taking a large portion of the money generated from Rodeo. So it's less dilutive to be able to go and develop Velardeña. Okay, so not all, but a lot of it. The rest you'll use for exploration. So let's talk about where you're at with Velardeña at the moment and what the timing is on that.
Yeah, so Velardeña is still on track. We're doing the final studies and engineering review and planning design for the biooxidation plant. And as you'll recall, the biooxidation unlocks the gold value from Velardeña, and it's very important to the project. The project would be economic without the gold payable, but it's twice as profitable with the gold payable and improved like we can do with the biooxidation plant. So we're in the process of obtaining a new bulk sample to run the final test work so we get the mass balance for the design of the biooxidation plant. And we're running that in tandem with the Rodeo startup. And it's my plan, although this isn't final, it's my hope and plan to begin production based on the lead silver con and the zinc con in 2021. Now, exactly when in 2021 we'll get that done is a bit unclear to me. I think it'll be by Q3, sometime in Q3, and potentially sooner. We've hired 2 new mine managers, one for Rodeo, one for Velardeña, great guys, Mexican nationals. We're expecting that's going to help streamline the process of getting things back where they need to be in production on that timeline I'm talking about.
Okay, and how much money are you going to have to throw at this?
So it's about a $10 million startup cost for Velardeña. About 6 of that, 6 to 7 is the bioxidation plant, and the other is development cost. So it's a fraction of what we're making after tax from Rodeo, and gives us plenty of room to cover all of our costs, corporate costs, plus exploration advancing.
Right, and again, give me some of the numbers there in terms of what the scale of this operation is.
The Velardeña? Yeah. So the Velardeña operation, after it's running, with the very low assumptions in the PEA of $1,300 gold, has about 100 million total cash flow over 10 years. So the net present value on that after tax is about 70-ish. But now that's at that very low price. And that was also done at a low silver price. So when you put today's prices in there, you're almost doubling that. So it's about a $200 million project over a 10-year life. And the life can be extended. We know it's open at depth.
Right, but it's very different from Rodeo. You're chasing narrow veins here.
Yeah.
So costs a little bit more. Yeah. So again, come back to the exploration bit here, because how are you going to extend this particular asset? How are you going to extend the life of mine?
The Velardeña life? Yeah. So we know that the system continues at depth below where we have it drilled out. With narrow veins, it costs, the cost of drilling narrow veins is substantial per ton of ore that you prove up. So we stopped after we had about 10 years on the books and resource. And we have evidence that there's another 500 meters of vertical extent of the system based on an intercept that we have in the vein system at depth. We just didn't follow up on it extensively. So we know it's there. And it's just a matter of once we get into a better position, geometrically to test it with shorter drill holes, we'll carry on. So that can be run, as we're producing. We don't have to wait for that. That's just something that we'll do while we're producing to extend the life. So it has the potential to be, you could double that mine life. You could make it a 20-year mine life. We're not producing a lot of material. It's quite high grade. And its value per ton is quite impressive. Now, the narrow veins make it more difficult and expensive, as you say, but we're used to it. We've done okay at mining these narrow veins before, and I think we'll do better this time around.
Yeah, but again, it's just sort of understanding how you do develop these things out in terms of understanding the size of the ore body, the shape of the ore body, and it's all well and good, extending the life of mine, but when silver's like it is now, great. When silver, the erratic silver falls away, it's more expensive. It's harder. So how do you go about planning with cycles? How you go about attacking something? Because right now you want to be going hell for leather, don't you?
Yeah. So the recovery of the gold based on the bioxidation circuit and some of the silver additionally gives us a lot more flexibility to produce down to lower metals prices once we have that bioxidation circuit in place. Now, the PEA shows that net of credits of gold, lead, zinc, the silver is produced for free, basically, per ounce. Now, you say producing 1 million ounces of silver at essentially no cost based on the credits from the other metals. So you can go down, as long as the other metals have maintained their price to some extent, you can go down in pricing quite far and still be profitable. So that's a big change from where we were, 5 years ago.
Right. How are you kind of defining the dilution component? Because again, I'm just fascinated by when you chase high veins, how people do the math. I mean, how have you approached it?
Yeah, so it's critical to get the dilution calculations right. That's absolutely key. And so we spent a great bit of time doing geometric dilution, not just applying a percentage, but actually calculating the volume, the mine out volume versus the volume of the payable vein. We're going to use a two-stage mining technique called rescuing, where we drop the vein at the narrowest width possible and then come back and widen the opening so we can continue. So that process, while expensive, gives us much more control on the dilution than we would have otherwise. So we still maintain that we can, depending on what the actual vein width at that particular stope is, our dilution could easily be 100%, could be a bit more, but the values, the grades within the vein support that. So it's really, we've spent a lot of time looking at it very carefully, and we're confident that we've got it right.
Okay. So just to kind of recap on where we're at, Rodeo, you've started the process. It's going to be cash flowing when?
Cash positive in Q1 of 2020.
Okay.
Yep.
Which then the knock-on effect in terms of getting things moving at Valadania, and when does that get into production?
So I'm thinking we can start based on, assuming metals prices stay where they are, silver, lead, zinc, we can start without getting paid well for the gold and still be profitable in Q3, Q4 of 2021. Stockpile the pyrite concentrate, process that once we have the bio-oxidation plant up and running, which will be sometime in 2022. And then we're off to the races with full payables sometime in 2022, probably late in the year. It's a process to design and build these plants, but I'm fairly confident 2022 is when we'll have that up and running.
Okay, and you're under no pressure. You're debt free.
Debt free. We paid off our debt. We had a couple of small debts early in the year just as protection. When things looked pretty ugly back in March, paid that off, so debt free. We've got cash in the bank. We can weather some changes in the schedule without any problem. We can be fine with a delay. We're not required to spend much money on our other projects, and we've parked El Quevar with Barrick Gold.
Yeah,
Barrick Gold is covering the costs and moving that forward independently. So that was one of the big cash outlays on an annual basis that we had, and that one's protected now.
Yeah, I want to come to that in a second. So again, I just want to totally understand this, because you had Hecla where they were using the mine. You were getting $5 million a year. That contract has come to an end. Have they stepped away completely now, or are there any residual cash injection from them? Any outstanding?
Yeah, we'll be. They're still milling ore at our mill through November. So we'll have cash coming in from them through December. It's about a month in arrears, and then we'll be up and running ourselves in January. So a very short period of time without that income.
Okay.
And yeah, it's good to point out, because there is quite a burn at Valadania if you're not making money with those assets.
Yeah, absolutely. So Valadania, I guess you've got, Rodeo, but a bunch of processes. We're going to be looking for Q1 for you to be getting in production, and over the course of next year, possibly Q3, we'll start seeing a lot more activity at Valadania. Brilliant. El Quevar, you talked about the Barrick earn-in there. What are the terms there? Because again, Barrick option lots and lots of properties around the world, and they do cover the cost and they do a bit of work on it, but if they don't find what they're looking for, they walk more times than not. What are the terms that they've come into you with?
Yeah, they're guaranteed to carry us for 2 years, or $1 million in exploration spending, and that's they have to spend $10 million total over 8 to earn in, and they earn in at 70%, carrying us at 30 through a pre-feasibility, a positive pre-feasibility of a 2 million ounce gold deposit, 2 million plus ounce gold deposit. So it's significant. And you're right. More often than not, they don't find what they're looking for. They're very excited about the prospects here. It's a huge high sulfidation district. It's what they love to explore in South America. I expect that they'll certainly take the 2 years, and then they'll be drilling, in my opinion, in all likelihood. and carry on. Then it depends on what they find.
Yeah, well, and that's not to say, and I don't mean to be negative about it, but just because they don't find what they want doesn't mean it's not good news for you because you inherit the data.
Exactly. There's a profitable deposit there for us right now that we've done the work on at today's silver prices. It didn't look good enough at $15 silver. It looks quite attractive at $25 silver. If we got it back, we would put that in production now.
Right. Okay. So they've got 2 years. They're going to spend $1 million, minimum $1 million. They don't expedite it in any way.
Minimum spends $1 million. They could expedite, so they could spend that faster, obviously. But my take on it, it's going to take them 2 years to get to their drill program. If they see what they want, carry on. If they don't, we get it back.
Okay. And then again, just to remind people, the full portfolio here, you've obviously got Santa Maria, Mexico. You've got that out with Fabled Copper. How are things going there? Have they raised the money they need?
Yeah. So they have their money raised. They're just waiting to fulfill a couple of requirements with the stock exchange in Canada. And then we expect to close that deal in this quarter. So we'll have that. And that, so that's cash to us. Based on that deal, it's $4 million over 2 years, $500,000 off the bat on closing, and then a royalty income on the production, 1% NSR. So it pays us back for our investment, basically.
Absolutely,
it wasn't quite big enough for us, but it's great for them. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, it wasn't big enough for you guys, but it could be $500,000 of cash once they get things sorted out with the regulator.
Yeah. Once they sign, and we're gonna sign here in November, early December. I think we have it through mid-December as the current timeline, maximum timeline. So before Christmas, we'll have this wrapped up, and everything's now progressing. There's been some setbacks, I guess, with the regulators, but it's all under control now and progressing on target.
Always is. Okay, we've bounced from Mexico to Argentina, back to Mexico, but we should talk about Nevada as well with Sand Canyon. What are you planning with that?
So, we had some interesting results, not spectacular, nothing that was going to get us drilling off to offset it or anything like that, but we established that the vein system is there. It has the signs of being a potentially productive epithermal system, but we basically need to do more work on that system to know exactly where we want to do the additional drilling. So we're under no rush to spend money there. We've met our commitment in advance. We don't have to spend money there until 2022, basically, other than holding costs. We will go ahead and complete the exploration work that we have planned as soon as we can get there and get the guys on the ground. Because our partners are Canadian and we're in the US, there's no trans-border travel that's very easy to accomplish these days. So as soon as COVID backs off, we'll be in a position to carry that on much more easily.
Okay.
In the meantime, we're doing some low-cost surface work, sampling, analysis of the results, looking at what additional geophysics we might do to help us on the targeting. And it's a great area. It's a great system. We just need more work on it to define where that successful drill hole is going to be.
Right. So you've had commercial success, not necessarily economic success yet.
Yeah, technical success is what you'd call it. We found the system's there. We got drill holes in it. It doesn't have the grade we were looking for. Just we have smoke, not fire. But we'll get there.
I love that. When you see that in press releases, people talk about technical success. It means, man, it didn't work quite the way we'd hoped it would. We'll come back to it later. That's that. But what it does allow you to do, it doesn't distract you, and you can get focused on delivering Rodeo, which with that's quite meaningful cash input, and get things going at Valadenia. And that's the interesting one here, I think, for shareholders. Because like you did say, your market cap has risen significantly. I think that people are starting to recognize the sort of imminent nature of the cash flow from Rodeo. Is that what's done it?
Yeah, that's what's going on, and we're getting credit for our plans as it gets closer. It looks very attractive. We have a number of analysts pegging us at a dollar per share kind of NAV once production is going. So, we're on our way to that. We're still trading, less than 50 cents a share, although we did break it here last week. But I fully expect us to be at or above $1 next year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, exciting times ahead. You just need to kind of keep moving forward. I mean, you've come from quite a complicated time, and you're problem solving for quite a long time. It's coming together now, and you must be quite relieved.
Oh, absolutely. No, as things progress and you make progress on these plans, if you'll recall our first conversation, which I think was in May or June, things were quite unsettled still. We didn't really know, but we've had this plan together here for a while, and things are coming in as predicted by the PEAs that we put out earlier this year. So we've confirmed, reconfirmed, and we're building the confidence that we need to carry forward. And now we have the money to do it. As you'll recall, previously we didn't have the money. Now we do. So things are much easier to envision how they're going to work. And I'm very confident in our success based on this.
Okay. Well, like I said, money does make things a lot easier, but a little bit more optionality, and the thinking becomes a little clearer too. Warren, thanks for the update. Best of luck with this. I look forward to hearing more from you. Certainly Q1 next year looks like a big moment, certainly in terms of cash flow. So stay in touch, pick up the phone and let us know how you're getting on, okay?
Fantastic, Matthew. Thank you. Great to talk again.